Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Chatterbox. I am Bradley Overrated. We finally have a name. It's not the Handlers Guild. I'm sorry to anyone that wanted it to be called the Handlers Guild or Salsa Party. But we went with Chatterbox, okay? It's a good name. I came up with it myself. I don't think anyone's going to sue us over this, so let's just roll with it. And with me, as always, is just Brandon. And yes, I'm trying to convince him to start a YouTube channel and be called Just Brandon. Say hello, Brandon.
Hello, how's it going?
Are you ready to start that YouTube channel yet?
I could just rename my YouTube channel to be just Brandon.
But that's like this private channel. You need to make it public.
It is public. The recent videos have all been public. It's
Oh,
just no
great.
one watches them, so it's
Oh
kind of
man, I
private in
didn't
a
know.
way.
I'm so sorry. I didn't know those were public. I thought they were all private, so I didn't bother because you was linking those onto the Discord.
No, I made them public now.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well then I'll be sure to be the first to like all your videos then.
Okay, nice.
So yeah, change your name to Just Brandon then, and you're good to go.
Okay.
There you go. And then we also have another special guest with us. His name is Fern. Say hello, Fern.
Hit me up. What's up?
Yeah, yeah. Fern and I go way back. We first met when we worked at Kohl's.
What a
And
wonderful time it was.
do you remember that the first night we worked together, it was a graveyard shift, and it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. The manager says it's break time, and I just said, "Okay, who's got the bag of weed?"
I remember that well. I
Yeah,
was
and we.
actually dating the manager at the time, if you remember.
I do, I do,
Nice.
and you know what? We've been friends ever since.
I regret nothing.
I regret nothing either. It's been a great decade or whatever. It's been.
It just about actually it
I think
has
it's been
been.
longer than a decade, right? Maybe it's
You
been longer.
started in 2013.
Yeah, that was wow. That was a long time ago.
Goodness, we
Back when
gotta
I was.
celebrate that.
Yeah, we've been friends for a decade.
Let's go.
Let's go! Oh, that's so cool. But anyways, I'm here to talk about something very exciting because you see, all three of us started this year and were committed to finishing Elden Ring, and I am pleased to say that all three of us have now finished Elden Ring this year. And we have so many thoughts, but I wanted to get Brandon's thoughts first because Brandon Fern just finished it literally like 2 or 3 days ago.
Let's go.
So,
My
Brandon,
question is, when did he start?
he started
Uh,
in January or
yeah.
February.
Well, and I was playing with some other people, but they fizzled out, and so I was holding myself back for a while,
Okay.
and then I just finished it. Yeah.
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 Brandon also wanted to finish Fire Emblem Engage too, so
Oh
he had
yeah.
another
Oh,
big
gotcha.
RPG commitment on top of it. So once he finished that, he was able to dedicate fully his attention to Elden Ring.
Yep.
Okay.
And yep, I made it through and I feel like I have no idea what happened and I was going to watch a story explanation, but Brad told me no, not yet. Wait until we do a podcast and
Oh,
then you can
Right?
not
understand
yet.
what
Well,
happened.
this is going to be a spoiler one. So if
Okay.
anybody hasn't played Elden Ring, all right, we're going to spoil it. We're going to just talk about it because you can at this point. All three of us have finished it. It's been out for over a year. I don't feel like it's okay to talk about it now. So if you don't want to hear it, I'll have a timestamp on my channel. You can skip ahead or whatever. But just know that we're going to talk about the spoilers. And Brandon says he doesn't know anything about what happened. What ending did you get, Brandon?
I went with Ronnie the Witch because she
And
has Mio's voice from Xenoblade. That was a good
yeah,
choice.
you told me about that. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. I didn't know that.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. Fern got the Dung Eater ending.
I
Okay.
did, but that's because at the very beginning of the game, there's like a swamp pit at the bottom left corner of the map, and I tried to get away from poisonous enemies, so I went down the little dungeon, and apparently, I'm going into the spoiler talk, Ronnie's physical body's in there.
Hmm.
And when I
Interesting.
interacted with it, the poison things came out of nowhere and killed the body. So I couldn't continue her quest line.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Is the Dung Eater, is he the guy like I can, if you find my corpse, I'll defile you and kill you, and then the poison will be truly yours. Is that him or is that someone else?
Yeah, you have to give him the oh, I don't even remember the item now. Some kind of rot. You had to give him 5 of this item, and then he would basically be tortured, and then he would give you the item to finish the game. And because I was attempting to get the what's known as the stars ending,
Oh
um,
But
yeah,
Ronnie has to be
the
alive
Ronnie.
for that.
but Ronnie, yeah, Ronnie technically has to be alive for that, which she couldn't be, and I couldn't complete that quest. So I just said, whatever. I know this guy, probably something cool. And yeah, it didn't really work out to be too cool, but I guess
Yeah,
for
but
from software endings, as far as they go, it's fine.
Did it still
yeah,
follow the same, like, you burn the tree, you go and fight the people in the Ashen Capital? It
Yes,
followed all that
yes.
same
All the
stuff?
all the bosses still kept in line, and I tried to follow it as best I could, but there were just a couple of things I wasn't able to do because I couldn't continue that quest line
Same
from accidentally killing that body at the very beginning of the game.
thing.
right. So you were basically, well, I don't know if you were necessarily stuck with the Dung Eaters ending. You could have just probably finished the game, couldn't you? Like
Well,
the
it gives you
standard
a
ending?
couple options.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Brandon and I had the same ending, we both got the stars ending.
Oh, you
We only had two options. We basically, at the end of the game, could either like claim it for ourselves or we could summon Ronnie at the end and she would do her hocus pocus and take out the greater will. So,
Well, I think I had another option because I did someone else's quest line.
oh really?
I could have done something. I don't know. It was like put a rune on something and then you could get another ending. But I didn't do it, so I don't know.
Oh, okay.
you should have told me we were going to talk about this. I would have watched the 8-hour lore video just to
No,
become
that's I didn't on purpose, just
let's
so
go.
that I wouldn't know.
There's an 8-hour lore video.
You know that lore goes deep, man.
That lore doesn't go deep. Don't give me that crap. That's the problem with this game. Everyone's working hard to fill it in, but let's get real here. All right? When Brandon says he didn't understand what was going on, 99% of the people that played this game didn't understand what was going on. They did not figure it out. They did not know everything, and you know that they all just got up there and Googled it and are now going to try to convince everybody else that this game has an amazing story, an amazing lore, and all of this stuff and act like they knew that they knew what they were doing the whole time, when in reality, nobody did.
Yeah, it's really
Nobody.
hard to get anyone to read, especially when you first receive an item, you have to read its description. But if you use the item or sell it, it gives you a different description after that.
What?
And that's what a lot of players don't know.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so when you go to uh to the witch that you take the souls of the Elden Lords to, um when you get the item she gives you, so she takes the soul away, but she gives you the item, and the item continues the description and the lore of the boss that you just defeated. So in order to really like get the lore, you technically have to play through it twice to read both those items.
Oh, I never traded in any of them. I just uh paralysis. Just never. I was like, well, what if I need this later? And I just never
Right.
spent any of my souls, my boss
Yeah.
soul things, remembrances. I think.
Remembrance, yes,
Yeah, I
that's
don't
right.
think I sold any of mine either.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I actually, when I played this game, I had a notebook with me. So I could write down people's names and who they are and what my quest line is, because quickly figured out that if I didn't do that, I would have no idea what I was doing or where I was supposed to go, because the game gives you absolutely no help in any of that. None. And people will say, oh, that's part of the game. It's part of reality. I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not. If this is what's going on, trust me, this guy's getting out of no book. All right?
Oh,
And
to
the
fill
game
in
should
the
just let you know.
blanks, is difficult.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been that hard to just put in the menu like a checklist. That's it. That's all I need. Just here's my objective. You don't have to tell me anything else about what is going on. Just tell me what my objectives are for each quest line that I am currently active in. That wouldn't have been that difficult, and they still didn't do that. And it's just this big open world, and it pissed me off. But thankfully, I had a notebook to help me out with a lot of the stuff.
The notebook is definitely a great idea. Um, I don't know. I just I already know my experience is much different than anybody else that has tried to play this game. But in terms of the story, but yeah, you're right. There really is no direction, and unfortunately, you can get caught in K-Lid at like a very early point in the game, and then you're just stuck. Especially if you have no idea what you're doing. Especially when this is their first true like open world game. I literally got myself in a few points where I was just completely stuck, and uh sometimes you just have to look at a guide. Like I'll be the first to tell people like, all right, someone tell me in the comments, get good scrub, but like the point of a game is to enjoy it too. And as all of us know, like, okay, we may have a stressful day, and the point to make our day better is to come play this stressful game, but it doesn't mean I have to be frustrated with it not being able to continue forward.
Yeah, and that's just it. Like I ended up doing the Stars quest completely by accident. The only reason why I even did it is because I found, Ronnie, I found her and everything she was about, and I was like, this is it. This is my girl. This is the person I will no longer be maidenless with. She is the one I have chosen. So I decided,
Did it for the
I
waifus.
did it for the waifu, baby. You know it. Yeah, come on, everyone's doing it for the waifu. All right. So yeah, no, but that's the whole reason why I did it. And even then, like the item, Brandon, that was in the treasure chest that was in the library,
Hmm.
10 hours. Took me 10 hours to find that thing. I was
Oh
just
yeah.
hoping I would come across it. I had no idea. I just pure out of randomness went back to that lady Renala or whatever her name is, and I saw that chest. I was like, oh yeah, and wasn't able to open it earlier, and I walked over there and I opened it, and it was the item I needed, and I was pissed. I was so pissed because I just maybe the game told me that there's like that's where it is and that's what I needed, but I had no idea, and I wish I had looked up a guide for it.
Yeah, I guess
Just
my
like
my experience is a little different because so I got to the point where Melina, I think there's a lot of M's, but Melina, she asks you, "Do you want to commit the cardinal sin?" I got to that point after beating the fire giant. I'm like, well, I haven't done any side quests. I haven't even seen any side quests. I met this one person I liked called Nefali Lu, and I want to do her side quest before I finish the game. So I look up her side quests, and it's like, you must be at least this far in Ronnie the Witch's side quest. I'm like, who's Ronnie the Witch? And then I was
so
like,
you looked up a
okay.
guide
So
is
I
what you're
looked up the
saying.
guide, and I was like, okay, I gotta go find Ronnie the Witch. It's like, okay, I gotta do this quest line a little so I can do Defali Lose. And I might as well go finish Ronnie the Witch's quest line, and then that launched me into another quest line. So I feel like if you don't find Ronnie the Witch, then all of the side quests seem like they're just locked out for you. And I just never stumbled across her. Like, I did the area with the, like, 10-finger hands, and I got to the end, but there's this like break in the wall you have to find to get to the Ronnie area, and I never found it.
Right.
So yeah, I just if I hadn't looked at a guide, I would have done zero side quests in the whole game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true. It's the because a lot of those side quests do require you to break through a hidden wall. And the only reason I was even able to find some of those walls in the first place was because of the messages that players leave behind.
Yeah, those are nice.
Yeah, other than that, I was just dinking around. I
I
read
Brad
one.
didn't
Oh, it's
have
a hidden wall.
messages. Yeah.
No, so my experience. Okay, you guys are gonna like think this is insane. No messages and no online play. My entire time, I had to figure out every single dungeon, every single boss fight, every single thing on my own, and I only looked up like twice for guides, and it wasn't even guides. It was how do I get past this one spot. One of those things, by the way, Brandon, was that stupid going up to the once you pass the giant and you are on that giant crater
Oh
and you
yeah.
needed to talk to Milena. I spent 15 minutes trying to figure out what I'm doing up there. I was like, I'm just gonna look it up real quick. I'm like, it said at the Save of Grace, talk to Milena. I'm like, are you kidding me? So I didn't look up anything, and I had nothing to help me with. So I feel somewhat amazed that I got this ending because it seems like it was very missable. But the only reason why I even was able to do this ending correctly is because I thought Ronnie was the main quest.
Oh, nice. I guess she is
I
the main quest. Well,
well,
Well, she's
she's
the
the
best ending, right?
yeah.
So,
she's the best ending for a lot of people,
but
but I don't think
necessarily
she's.
does the best ending mean the correct one?
Yeah, and that's up to the lore people to discuss. For me, it doesn't matter because afterwards I beat this game and I looked up 3 or 4 of the endings. Like, this is stupid. I'm so glad I'm not doing this. But yeah, I thought she was part of the ending because after the library, I went more up towards where she was, and then I found her and I went through that whole spider section with the hands and talked to her, and then I started that quest, and then eventually I went to Khalid that way. So I thought I was doing everything right. But it wasn't. Apparently, I just ended up by accident finding her quest line.
Nice.
Because
Yeah,
again, the
that's
game
better
doesn't
because
tell
some
you
people
what your
would have
quest
never
lines
found
are.
it in the first place.
Yeah.
I
Uh,
don't even understand her
Or
ending
they ruined
anyway.
it by accident like I did.
So with Ronnie, and this is the way, once again, I put a notebook in and I tried to my best to figure out what was going on with Ronnie and that stuff. That's when I became invested. That's when I realized, like, more vigorously taking notes is the way to sum up her story is Ronnie was being controlled by the greater will, the god that was kind of taking over the land,
Yes.
and she didn't want to be controlled by the greater will, so she separated her soul into the doll that Fern got killed, whatever it was,
Whoops.
and whoops, and
Sorry,
so
Ronnie.
she wouldn't be controlled anymore by the greater will, and then she's using you willingly to basically stop the greater will, stop the Elden Ring, and she was going to summon a new god, one that would give everybody their free agency
Okay.
to, and that's what the Dark Moon was. The Dark Moon is actually a god there
The
to
new
take to
god.
replace the greater will and cause 1,000 years of not necessarily peace, but just you can now do what you want and anyone can has the right to choose what they get to do. Kind of biblical when you think about it.
Yeah, a little
But
bit.
yeah.
When she was talking about like the stars and the cosmos and stuff, I got the feeling of I don't know if you've seen the Final Fantasy VII movie. I'm sure you have,
I
but
saw it free on YouTube like a month ago.
nice. But there's the part where Cloud's like, "What do you even want, Sephiroth?" He's like, "What I want is to sail the cosmos of the galaxy with this world as my vessel." Now, that's what Ronnie gave me the impression of. She's like, "Well,
Oh, there
she's
you go.
doing something with the planet. I don't know. Stars are involved. Maybe we're sailing around the galaxy. That's what we're
Yeah,
doing."
and I don't know how accurate my description is of like her story and her summary. I don't know, Fern, have you by chance like read up any of this stuff? Am I even somewhat close to the ballpark?
I believe you're right, but it was
Okay.
so long ago and I tried to catch up on it now. And I say long ago like if it wasn't just like a month or two ago.
Right. Okay, yeah, because that's what I got. But like I said, Brandon, I literally had a notebook writing
Nice.
stuff down. Like when they would talk, I would write anything that sounded important, like any keywords or anything, and just kind of made the connections that way because I knew that if I didn't, I wouldn't remember. And to be honest, like any of the other people's side quests and stuff, I don't remember any of them at this point because I just really wanted to have Ronnie be my waifu in this game. So,
Excellent.
and then we come to what I want to talk about, the controversial parts. Did anybody here enjoy the ending? Just like out of curiosity, because I did a YouTube video, and I was
Not
disappointed by the ending.
really.
You didn't like it either.
I
I
don't
feel
even
like
get it.
I just feel like I threw way too many hours to get just that small of an explanation. Am I surprised? No, it's a From Software game. But I don't know. I just remember being done, the credits rolled, and I was like, that's it?
Right. And I
Like,
heard,
it's like finishing Halo 2 all for the first time.
oh
Like, the
man.
experience was incredible. And then it gets to the end, and then you're just like, wait, that's it?
We're gonna
That's where
finish the
you left
fight.
me? Like,
The end.
okay, yeah, I got the exact same experience as I did first finishing Halo 2 is when I finished this.
It's like I'm gonna throw some mumbo jumbo at you. The end. Thanks.
Pretty
Yeah.
much. Now,
Yeah.
that's not to say that the DLC won't fix it,
Oh no.
or if it even goes into it, you know what I mean? But,
I don't think it will, and that's the annoying thing about it. Like, I think the DLC is just gonna expand. It's not really going to help clarify anything.
right?
I mean, if like, and this is what I say, and this is the problem I have with Elden Ring, and people might disagree with this, and I've already talked to Brandon about this when I use this as my analogy. Is if this was a book, this would be a terrible, terrible book to try to read because all it would be is you'd be trying to read through this book, you'd get to cryptic terminology, and then it would have you go back to the appendix to try to understand what it is, and then you have to go back to the page you're at, go read a few more paragraphs to get another term to go back to the appendix, and you're going to have to keep going back to the appendix to try to figure out the story. And that to me is not a good story. That is not how you properly tell a story. And that's exactly what Elden Ring is doing. With its item descriptions and all of its terms that don't make that much sense at the beginning and all these random sporadic quest lines and no guide at all to know even where you're at in those quest lines. You're reading a book that is broken. It's a book that's a choose your own adventure book with lots of pages that you turn to with appendix at the end filled in for you to try to
Yeah.
figure out what you're doing. So there's
I don't-
no order to your choose your own adventure book. Plus you got to now try to look back through the appendix to read it. And that to me is the biggest problem I have with Elden Ring. I don't think it's a very well told story. Now from what I put together with my through my efforts, I didn't hate Ronnie's story. I liked it. But then you get to the payout, like
It's
you were
not
saying, Farm.
told well.
Yeah. And the payout, though, at the end is a 3-minute cutscene for 90 plus hours. My playthrough was 95, I think, or 97.
I think mine was 64.
I think mine got to 80 by the end.
Yeah. I was slow. But then, like I said, at the same time, it makes sense that I was slow. I didn't use any help. I remember when Fern joined in like a month later, and I'm like, I'm level 65, Fern. Fern's been playing for a week. He's like, yeah, I'm level 40. I was so mad.
Like I said, I accidentally ended up in Caelid, and I thought that was just the game. So I was trying to defeat all these incredibly overpowered enemies.
Well, that and you
Yeah.
killed that dragon you told me about that gave you 90,000 runes right off the
Oh
bat.
yeah, I jumped up from 10 to like 38 in like literally 5 minutes of fighting its tail.
Yeah, I found
Which
that dragon
apparently I
very
saw a
interesting.
video. I saw a video where if you defeat the dragon but go save immediately, it doesn't disappear.
Nice.
I would have loved to have done that.
Oh, yeah, that would have been nice.
I actually never killed that dragon. I saw it, I whacked its tail a few times, and like, he's fine, I'll just leave him here. But I was already like level 100 by then, so it didn't really
Well, I
matter.
don't think there's any, like,
What level did you guys finish the game at?
150. Well, that's when I beat Millennia, was 150.
150.
I finished the game at 145, I want to say.
I finished at 132. I
So
did
we were
beat
all pretty close.
I did beat Melania, but I did not beat that two-headed dragon.
Oh, so I didn't
Blasted dude?
know about the two-headed dragon until I think Tuesday. I was looking at the achievements, and it's like you have 3 hidden achievements. I'm like, oh, I'll go check what I missed. And it's like 2 endings, and one was kill this dragon. I'm like, who's this dragon? So I looked him
Yeah.
up and I went and killed him.
Yeah, that dragon ruined my day.
Oh,
So
see,
yeah,
I never killed the two-headed dragon.
he took me one try. So, but I was pretty high level, and my summon. Did you guys ever summon the mimic?
Oh yeah, that was the one
Okay.
I went to. That
I
was
Okay.
my
love
core.
the
I
mimic.
got the mimic and I maxed it out basically.
I got that playing with Brad, actually.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you did. That like the 3 times I played online with somebody for. That's right, we did do that.
Yeah, we did do that.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
I
that was
just
great.
yeah. I mean, I was already level 150, so I just wrecked that dragon first try.
Yeah, I was gonna say I never fought that dragon, so I don't know about that.
He's
Millennia was
not in an
easy.
obvious place. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's not a
I was
fun boss to get
140.
to.
I used the mimic. I didn't struggle too much. It only took me a few tries.
Yeah, I think I clocked in at 7 tries for
Yeah.
Millennia.
But I
I
think we
was
were there pretty at a pretty high
Yeah,
level,
we were
so
high level.
I was at least in the 20s for trying to defeat her.
like 120.
Like 20 tries, I should say.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Well, that's still pretty good. I heard she's the toughest boss for people in the game. They actually said most people have died to her the most, I think.
I believe it.
Yeah.
What
I think it
weapons
just
were? Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I was just saying, I think it's also depends on how you want to play the game. A lot of people, for example, feel like summoning the spirit ashes is cheap, so they don't do it.
So I did that for like the first third of the game.
Me too. I didn't even know it was a thing until I
Yeah.
was like, oh wait, I can do that? That would have made so many boss fights easier.
Yeah, so I mean, there's definitely 2 ways you can play the game. You can do the thing where like you stand halfway between like close range and long range. You stand at mid range and try to bait out moves from bosses. And you just do that for the whole fight and you learn their move set and you dodge their moves and stuff.
The
You can do
Dark Souls
that.
mechanic.
Yeah. And that's it ends up for you get a lot better because you memorize their move set and then you know how to dodge all their moves. Or you can summon a thing and just whack at them until they're dead. And that seems to work pretty well.
That
Yes.
way, that method works a lot better.
Yeah.
The only time I usually struggled with that method is if the boss fights had more than one. If there was more
Oh
than
yeah.
one person. Usually with 2 or 3 enemies in your boss fight, that could prove to be a little bit more difficult because then you always still have to, you have to fight someone. Usually in those.
Yeah. And I think
That
I'd be okay learning the move sets if this was like a 20-hour game. But since it's like an 80-hour game,
Oh,
that
right.
increases it to, 120 hours, and I'm like, I'm not gonna learn all these move sets. I'm
Is
just gonna
there
go
a
unga
sub
bunga.
is there a sub boss that gave you guys a very difficult time?
Yes, and it was down in like the heroes of like Azula. It was the 2 knights that I had to fight, and those guys gave me a lot of difficulty. I couldn't beat them on my own. I couldn't beat them with the mimic tier. What I ended up doing is I ended up using a different spirit ash of like 5 guys with big shields, and then I had those 5 guys block one of the distract one of the other guys while I tried to quickly take down the other guy, and it took me 30, 40, 50 tries. It was probably my second most time consuming fight in the whole thing.
Goodness.
And it was just a regular boss fight apparently, but
Yeah,
it
that one
just
was
like
a
could
hard
not.
one for sure. That one took me quite a few tries.
I
That one
think
was
the one
tough for
that
me.
took me the most was it was a knight and like one of those werewolves right after the Radon fight
All right.
in
Yep.
that corner. That
And
was
that's
very
just it. Like a lot of the toughest fights are the ones where there's 2 bosses
yeah.
in there. And I think and that was the other thing. Like I don't get me wrong, I really did enjoy this game. I know I complain about it a lot, but I think the reason why I complain about it a lot is because I could just see a lot of these faults that everyone says are strengths, and I'm like, I just don't agree with that. And another thing is just how many times did I have to fight the same boss fight? You know, over and over. I fought, was it a dozen dragons, and they all have basically the same move set.
Oh, you do
So
have to fight the Godric a few times, don't you?
Yep, you have to fight the skin guy, Godric, or whatever his name
Oh,
is.
the skin guys were at least 4 times.
Yeah, that's true. Uh, there's also
Oh, the
gosh, I don't
black
remember.
knife also.
Yep, the assassins you have to fight a bunch. The gargoyles you have to fight a bunch. There's 3 pumpkin heads that I know of that you had to fight,
Yep.
and and that's just it. Like the only thing they did was they took those same enemies that you're already familiar with, and they just made them stronger with more health. You know, because they had some amazing boss fights. Some of the best I've ever seen, like just by sheer design alone, I've ever seen in any game, and
Oh,
that's
I absolutely loved the boss fights in this game.
yeah, like the main ones, like the great bosses, the demon bosses, you know, those big ones where you're
Uh,
literally trying to slay a god. Like those are so amazing and great, and
What
I
did
don't
you
even mind.
think of the gimmick boss in this game? So it would be the Serpent Lord in the Fire Castle.
Did you see my video yet, Brad?
Of you trying to beat the Serpent Lord?
Yeah.
Yes,
I did view it earlier, yes.
Okay.
it was pretty
Well,
funny.
I didn't use the gimmick. I
Rykard
just
was his name.
yeah.
Oh yeah, No,
I
I
just
used the
attacked
gimmick.
him.
I love that sword. I thought it was such a cool concept. I had a hard time beating him at first with it though, and I really wanted to beat him with it, so I went back to the blacksmith and I upgraded it by like 7 more times, and then I went back and the first try just crushed him.
Oh, that probably helped a lot. I
Yeah, it
didn't
was
know he had a second phase, so I kind of goofed off a lot in the first phase.
oh against the snake.
Yeah, I did because when this game first came out, all you would see was videos of the snake. I never actually finished it.
Right.
So when it turned around and there was a whole face, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
what? What? This goes hard.
Pulls a
Right.
sword out of his mouth.
And that's what I'm
That was
talking about. Like
so cool.
Rykard's boss fight is amazing. For all intents and purposes, whether you use the sword or not that it gives you, with the spear or whatever it's called, I love that boss fight. One of the top
I
5.
thought it was
Hands
dumb.
down. See, he thought it was dumb, but I
It was my
loved it.
least
Just the
favorite.
fact that
Yeah.
I'm chopping down a snake and then it turns around and there's this ugly freaking face and it's like, let's go for round 2. I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. But you thought it was
Yeah.
dumb, Brad?
Well, for me, well, the dumb part about it is if you're right next to him, he doesn't even attack you. And so you just whack at him, and it takes forever because you're somewhat stun locked by the lava. And so I was just whacking at him for like 5, 10 minutes until he died.
Oh wow. I didn't know he didn't couldn't attack you if you're right next to him.
No, he doesn't have any attacks for that.
Really?
Yeah.
I
Maybe
didn't
that's
have
why
a
everyone,
chance to
a
notice
lot of
that.
people were saying that they didn't use the gimmick.
No,
Well,
maybe.
well, see, because I used the gimmick, so I'm in this epic fight where he's literally summoned like these demonic skulls that try to blow up next to you the
Oh,
entire time in the
I
second
had to
phase.
run away. I had to run away from those. So I ran away from that, and then I ran right next to him again, and then he didn't
Yeah,
attack me again.
and see, I never got right next to him, so I'm trying to run away from the skulls while he's taking
Yeah.
big old swings at me the entire time, and then I'm trying to
Oh,
summon off
nice.
this thing to like literally like electric shock him. I felt like I was like holding a big freaking wand from Harry Potter, and that's what it felt like for me, like the most overcompensating wand, and I'm just going Avada Kedavra the whole time at this guy.
Yeah, it does feel that way.
And so that's why I loved it. But I could see from Brandon why he think it would dumb if you can literally just walk up to him and not have to mess with any of his stuff for the majority of the fight. That would be lame.
Yeah.
So
Now,
I
now
guess
that
should
we
we go
get,
through and say what our favorite fight is?
let's hit it.
So my favorite, I think I liked Malkeith the most, just because he was very aggressive and he would get in your face, and he did a lot of damage, but he also took a lot of damage, and I just thought he was a fun boss.
He was the Black Blade, right?
Yeah, exactly. He was the
yeah,
guy who collects the death roots or something.
Yes. Oh, I thought he was a way cool boss
that
fight. That's a good
that
He
dude
was.
choice.
was that dude was tough. He was
He
really
Yeah.
was hard.
hard.
He was difficult.
He was very difficult, but I ended up beating him in the same fashion that Brandon beat Rykard. I got right up next to him at the end, and he would swing an attack, but his attacks couldn't hit me because I was right next to him.
Oh dang.
So I
Let's
got
see.
lucky though. I think they were supposed to hit me. I just think I just got lucky. That dude got me a good 10 times before I beat him.
I th-
Yeah.
I think I won by complete nonsense, to be honest, with that one, but I can't remember how. I just remember thinking, "Thank goodness this is over," because I couldn't have won otherwise.
Yep.
Let's see.
So what about your guys' favorites?
Brad,
I'm
you want to go
thinking.
first?
Um, okay, so notable ones. I really liked. Well, Molina's fight's cool. I think the Librarian, Renala's fight, might be my favorite.
Oh yeah.
Close second would be Radon's with his whole meteor strike, and just that was just another epic fight.
Yeah, that was good.
But also, this might surprise people, but I think my other really favorite fight in this one would be the snail, the invisible snail.
Oh, the invisible snail. Let's go. I
Freaking
remember that one.
loved that boss fight in that dungeon. It was so awesome. I don't remember that in any Souls game either. There might have been one, but just getting into a room and some guy's fighting and I kill the guy and then nothing's happening and I'm like, what's happening? And then the guy pops back up and I'm like, okay, let's go. And I barely kill him again. I'm like, okay, am I good now? And then he pops back. I'm like, what is happening? And then I
Yeah.
realized that there's an invisible snail in the corner of the freaking room.
Well, I kept attacking him, and the health bar at the bottom didn't go down. So I'm like, something's going on here.
Right, and that's what I thought. I thought if I killed him enough times, like
Yeah.
something would happen, like his true form would appear, and then I would be able to kill him. But that didn't happen. So I love that. I love the fact that there's just
Yeah.
some little tiny snail that's easy to kill, just hiding around in the corners of the boss room.
Yeah.
I don't think I've killed any of them.
You never killed the invisible snail?
No, I must have.
Probably. Do you have
It
a
was in a
favorite boss
random
fight?
catacomb. Yeah.
So, my favorite boss fight actually has to go to something we talked about earlier, where if we knew more about the game, we would probably enjoy its ending and a lot more. So, my favorite boss fight actually has to go to Godric the Grafted because I
Mm.
knew the most lore about him.
Right.
Oh yeah.
You know, because, like, he called himself Godric the Golden, and the game disrespects him by calling him Godric the Grafted. And the only reason he was grafting the limbs of the um, people he's defeated was because he wanted to defeat Millennia and regain his title. He's the son of the main boss. He needs to be that level, but he can't. And because I know that lore, I love that boss a lot. And I wish I could say the same about the other bosses, but I can't. I think the second best boss here for me was the Radon fight. Because again, like, oh, you learn through the lore that he has the power of gravity, gravitation. It's why he can ride around in his tiny little horse. That's his
Yeah.
best friend. And not crush the horse because he can use gravity for his will. And that's why when you defeat him, all the shooting stars fly across the sky. That's because Radon was using gravity to keep them at bay to protect the land.
Oh, I missed that. I didn't see a shooting
Oh
star.
Yeah,
yeah.
so that goes back to like what we were talking about earlier. Like, there's so much that the game just hides in text that if it had it out in the open for you to kind of know, I feel like you would appreciate all these boss fights and everything just so much.
Yeah. Brandon, if you go to the man who is the all-knowing douche, as I call him now, since I had to fight him, but
Okay. Yeah.
the
Leave them
all-knowing
alone.
the all-knowing douche, okay, if you talk to him actually and you ask where these people are, he'll tell you about Radon. He actually tells you all that information.
So I never talked to him until I looked up storylines, and it's like go do Nephali Lou storyline. So I was almost done with the game by the time I talked to him.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I talked to him a bunch because he gives you a lot of information that is kind of
Oh,
vital to the game if you're into
Yeah.
like the lore and
He was
stuff.
really
Yeah,
rude, wasn't he? The more I think about it.
he was a little bit condescending at times, but at the same time, I just call him a douche just because I had to fight him at the end because he wanted to be the Elden Lord and he knows he can't ever be. So he's like, well, if I can't be, you can't be. Let's fight. Anyways, but
And he gets stomped.
yeah, he got me twice. I'll admit it. He
Oh,
got me
did he?
twice. Oh
I
yeah.
think he
Okay.
caught me once.
I just
Oh
wasn't. I
man.
didn't know his moveset, and he had one attack that like kills you instantly, and I
I
wasn't
don't I
prepared
don't
for it.
think he ever even attacked me. I don't think he ever got the chance just because I summoned my mimic and we just wrecked him.
I wasn't allowed to summon my mimic.
Oh really? While he was
Yeah,
monologuing, I said,
I couldn't use any spirit ashes when I fought him.
"Oh weird."
Yeah,
When
so
I'm gonna ask a random question, but it goes kind of with this boss battle. What is You guys have probably seen a lot of videos on these, but what is your favorite Elden Ring mod? I love the one where they replace your horse with the Halo tank.
I haven't seen any mods. I haven't even looked.
I didn't know mods were a thing to be honest.
Check them out, man. They are hysterical.
The Halo tank, the Scorpion.
Uh-huh. That dude's
That's
talking, the
does it
boss that we're
shoot?
talking about. He
Does
switches
it?
to the horse and it's just the tank. One shots him.
Oh, that's awesome.
Nice.
That sounds like a great mod.
What
but
I was actually hoping for, what might actually, because I'm probably never playing this game again, but I might if there's like a boss rush mode. I wonder if there's a mod that lets you do a boss rush mode.
That would be fun.
I'll have to go check.
I think I'm on the same boat, if I'm honest, though. That I don't know if I could play this game again.
There's just too much
yeah.
walking around.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, real quick, yeah. So that like, you know how we were talking about Radon, and like when after you beat him, like the star like collapses into the ground, that whole place is obliterated, and you go down there, Brandon.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
That's because he was holding it up.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah,
I
he
Yeah,
didn't
was holding up
know.
the meteor that was gonna
yeah.
crash into that. And when
It
you
Oh,
makes
okay.
sense
defeat
now,
him,
doesn't
the
it?
magic goes away.
So I didn't know about that crater until I got to, when you can burn the tree, and I'm like, well, I'll go do the side quests.
Oh
And
my
then
gosh.
I went and met Rami the witch, and she sent me down there.
Oh my goodness, Brandon,
So I
you.
didn't know about the crater until then.
Well, yeah, but yeah, that was what Radon was doing that whole time.
Oh, I see.
So, yeah, I know you guys said you'll probably never play it again, but here's the crazy thing: is like I had enough gripes with it. I probably will play it again though.
Thing.
But
Maybe
yeah,
eventually, but I wouldn't play it like this close. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
no,
Like maybe I just
I'll
beat it a
wait.
few weeks ago.
I think what I'll end up doing eventually is I'll go back and try to fight that two-headed dragon. Apparently, I missed.
Yeah.
Fight a bunch of
Dukes or something like that.
yeah, just try to go around, see if I can kill all the dungeons because I didn't start New Game Plus yet, so I should be able to still just run around the areas and fight whoever I want still. But try to just see that and then jump into New Game Plus after the DLC comes out and just do it again. Is
Yeah,
what I
I'll
think
check
I'll
if there's
do.
a boss rush mode. Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah, because here's the thing: is like even if I do New Game Plus, based on like how insignificant the leveling up is at this point, I don't feel like I'm gonna be missing out too much if I skip certain dungeons, or do all that. So maybe by doing that, the game will go a lot faster and feel much better on my second playthrough.
That might be what I'll do, but I'll definitely have to wait a little bit because
Yeah.
here's my little history with the game, right? I didn't play it for a year because Sekiro messed me up. That game
You
broke
told me
me.
about that.
Like
I haven't played it.
absolutely broke me.
Well, you
And
told me about how it broke you and how all the stuff and how yeah, it's one of your top 3 favorite games of all time.
it
But
is
you also
downright incredible.
you also told me I need to buy it and play it, but now that I've bought it, I'm afraid to play it because of the way you've explained it.
It absolute like I said, it broke me. Went through so much and it took me months to beat the final boss. Um, that is one of my more favorite from software games. It actually has a story you can follow along. Um, I think it's incredibly well done. But because of that game, it took me basically almost the year mark to play Elden Ring. And then when I finally bought it, I realized Resident Evil 4 was around the corner. So I was also on a time rush because I knew as soon as Resident Evil 4 came out, this game would have to be put on the back burner.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's kind of like why I tried to speed run through it, but because it is a Souls like, that's not exactly something you can do either,
Yeah.
especially on a playthrough one.
Well, it sounds like you did great, though. I mean, you beat the game in 30 hours less than what I beat the game. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
but then
I
again,
I
like I said, I
I
had
played
no
enough
help.
Souls
I didn't
games
look
to
up
know how
anything.
to run right through them.
This is true. You played more than I have. That's for certain. So, all right. The last thing I want
What?
to ask you guys is, oh, did you have something you wanted to say, Brandon?
Oh, I was gonna ask you guys what like weapons you did.
Oh, I did Bloodfang.
What's that?
It's this long. It's like a single-handed weapon. It's like a longsword type of weapon, but it's not technically a longsword. I don't know what it is. Almost like a twin blade, but not quite that. And it could do cause blood loss to all your foes if you hit them enough with it.
Nice.
I maxed that one out, but I used a lot of weapons. Like I know you used double halberds
Yeah, double
with your
halberd
jumping
jump
talisman,
attacks.
No.
Yep,
which worked
yep,
surprisingly well for you. Hey,
yep.
that's the beauty. That's the cool thing about Elden Ring, though, is your weapon variety can be so different, and that's kind of what I did. Like, I mained just a straight up standard longsword for a long time, and then I went to the ice rind axe for the longest time, and then I went to Bloodfang. So it just depended on certain
Did you
stages of what my
guys
main
ever
weapon
try
was.
and do like a magic build?
No,
No, I don't
No.
know
I
if I ever cast a spell.
I cast spells at the beginning when they were still effective because I was at the beginning.
I casted a few poison spells at the Bell night, but I think that was it.
Yeah. But no, for the most part, I focused on strength, health, endurance, and then dexterity.
Okay,
So,
yeah, the halberds I ended up using were strength and then dexterity and faith. But I didn't even try to do any spells, even though I had 22 in faith, I guess. I wonder if there were good spells I could have taken, but
yeah.
I
I
did a lot
mean,
of faith because I saw somewhere that it increased like the chances of the weapons like its magic potential, so I would use the bandit's curve sword a lot, and that was a bleed build, and using faith it actually sped up that process.
hmm,
yeah. And I also used the brick hammer, just the standard brick hammer. Anytime I went into a dungeon where there were Crystallis bosses or enemies, the guys with the crystals on them, the brick
yeah.
hammer made easy work of them. So I always made sure to have it in my inventory whenever I ran into those dungeons, because that was very nice to fight those 6 different Crystallis boss fights and be able to just mow them down. Because it would stun them too, so it was really easy to take them out.
Oh, easy.
But all right, the last question I want to ask you guys about Elden Ring is, on a scale from 1 to 10, how much did you enjoy it? Despite its flaws, despite how much you loved it, just how much did you enjoy the game on a scale from 1 to 10?
I mean, I'd probably put it at a 9. I enjoyed just running around exploring everything. I think the one I'll take off is just I needed a little bit more telling me of important things that I could miss because I just kind of did all of them at the end of the game. So, but yeah, I mean, overall, I like the combat, I like the world, I like the exploration. Just I need a little more guidance because yeah.
All right, sounds good. And 9, that's a very good score. What do you give it, Fern?
Honestly, I would throw it in the 9 too. Kind of the same complaints. I wish the game would tell me just a little bit more, or at least, you know, uh, put me in an area that would keep certain quests safe. That way I wouldn't accidentally kill him. Cause I forgot to tell you guys, I killed Patches too. When
Good
he
for
went
you.
down on his knee and you're supposed to talk to him, I thought I stunned him.
Good for you.
So I kept
Nice.
attacking him. I thought I stunned him, and I was like, "All right, this is gonna be an easy boss fight." Um,
That's okay.
yeah, no, I accidentally killed him. Accidentally killed Granny's real body. But apart from that, like the amount of fun that you have playing this game, it does kind of overshadow some of the complaints that I have. So I am at a very hard 9 on this game.
Yeah. I have been all over the place on how much did I enjoy the game, but I am lower than both of you.
Oh,
I was going to give it only a 7,
We
but
convinced you.
then no, I decided to give it an 8 because it took if you had asked me right after I finished the game what I would have given it, it would have been a 7 because the ending sucked. The
fair.
repetitions, boss fights sucked. I got tired of fighting the same boss fights. Even the dungeons started to feel uninspiring because they all felt the same. I was just a lot of dungeons where you run around, you dodge the guys with the wheels, the blades. Brandon, remember those guys? Or for
Oh
whoever
yeah.
it was.
Oh
And
yeah.
there was like 3 of those dungeons. There's the same enemies in the dungeons. You fight the same bosses in the dungeons. You run. There's gonna be one with like a poison room. I mean, it was just. Then you pull a lever and you fight the boss. For the most part, that's it.
Yeah.
And it got very old. Like at first, it was awesome. The longer the game took me, the less fun that became. But you're right. The combat still was phenomenal. The boss fights, like especially the major ones, if you had told me that that was what most of the game would be like, this game would have been a 10 out of 10 for me almost. But unfortunately, this story is all over the place. And it's going to be all over the place because you're supposed to play through this and just like know all this stuff and really do your homework and look. You're supposed to get online, I guess, and read the lore and compare theories and just it's a lot of work for a game that story as its whole for a guy that did the work and has a general idea of the story that he chose to do, which is Ronnie's. It's not impactful enough for me to think it warrants enough of that. And for me, I like a good story when I play games. I focus heavily on story. And if the game storytelling isn't up to par, then I have an issue with it. So I am giving Elden Ring an 8 out of 10.
Feel great.
Still a good game though.
Feel
Still a
great.
good game. Yeah. It's
I have a
still a really
random,
fun game.
I have a random pop quiz question for the both of you.
Oh,
All
no.
right, let's hear it.
Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom was supposed to come out like a month or two after Elden Ring originally released. Do you think the developers played Elden Ring and said, "We gotta add a couple things"?
No,
No, probably
not
not.
even close. I don't think
Because
that's what
it's
happened
I
at
don't
all.
think they were
they
done.
pushed it back almost a year or more.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's at all what it is.
Just a random thought I had.
Yeah, a lot of I saw that. I saw that theory, and a lot of people seem to think that's why, but I don't think so. I don't think that's why they pushed it back.
Yep.
You
I
think they
vote
were
no.
gonna release a terrible game?
No, not even that. It's just the amount of polish that goes into Zelda titles is pretty insane, and
They
this
definitely
one's
do.
gonna be a really big one. Like the expectations for Tears of the Kingdom are through the roof, right? Like everyone's expecting this to win Game of the Year already. Like it hasn't even come out yet, and people are already calling it the Game of the Year. So I think they just needed a lot of time to really try to make it something unique. And I don't think people realize how much effort goes in. Yes, they have the same assets that they can use from Breath of the Wild, but just on what we've already seen from the trailers, it looks like it's going to be completely different compared to the original in so many different ways. So
Didn't Breath of the Wild get pushed out by like a year as well, at least?
Breath of the Wild got pushed out like 5 times over.
Yeah, so
It
I
had a
think that's
lot
just
of.
That one took a
standard
while.
practice.
Now, see, I think Breath of the Wild got pushed out actually not because it wasn't finished. I think Breath of the Wild got pushed out because they wanted to make it for the
Quality
Switch.
control.
Yeah.
I think they wanted to have it as a launch title for the Nintendo Switch. And since the Wii U wasn't selling that well, they decided instead of releasing a Zelda that no one's going to play on a console that nobody has, they're going to port it over and adjust it for the Nintendo Switch, and that's why it got delayed. Which was a smart move by them, honestly, because the Wii U only sold 13 million units. So I have one.
Yeah, me too.
Sold mine back the day I got it. Well, the next day, actually.
Sad.
Good for you, Fard. He's not missing out too much, if I'm being honest. I love my Wii U, but
I
definitely
only
a
got
niche.
the Wii U because Star Fox Zero came out.
Ugh.
I love Star Fox, and when I played that, I was so disappointed. I returned everything, completely forgetting the Wii U had like a library of games that weren't half bad.
Yeah. Oh, side note, by the way, I saw a lot of people through YouTube videos and stuff that think Yoshi is the worst Nintendo franchise of all time,
Ooh.
saying that like these games are all the same and they're not very fun and yada yada. I'm gonna say this, and this is gonna hurt Fern's heart very much.
Yeah,
That
man.
Yoshi is not the worst franchise of all time.
It's not.
Star Fox is the worst franchise of all time that Nintendo has.
That hurts.
And you
Star
wanna know
Fox
why?
is one of my favorite ones, but I'm not. I will probably agree with you. What do you have to say?
Who? Brandon or me?
Oh, I was
Both of
gonna say I don't think I've ever played a Yoshi game, and I've never played a Star Fox game.
Oh man.
So
Well, I was just gonna say then, like, no offense to Star Fox fans out there, but your games suck. The last good one was Star Fox 64. Okay, let's get honest here with ourselves. It was 2 decades ago. No, it was more than 2 decades ago. It was 25 years ago or whatever.
I'm
That
still
was the
gonna
last
fight you
really
and
good
say
Star Fox.
Star Fox Adventures is the best
No,
Zelda game ever
that
made.
game is
But
trash.
I will leave it at that.
It is a discount Legend of Zelda title, and it's so annoying when they talk in a foreign language, and then let's say there's an English word called like the big rock, so they're going "Igadolaka the big rock." Bakatugolaka.
It just adds to the lore.
No, it's dumb. The best thing that came out of Star Fox Adventures was Crystal. Okay.
Is she just a pass?
Yeah, basically.
Someone was talking about that. I don't remember.
And
I'll
then Star
remember that for
Fox
the next
Assault was
podcast.
pretty good. The full hour it took to beat it.
All 45 minutes of it.
And then Star Fox Zero was disappointing. Star Fox 2, which came out in 2017, which was meant to be for the Super Nintendo, wasn't all that great, and I played through that whole game.
Yep.
So, like, what do you want me to say here? The games haven't sold very well, and the quality has been going downhill ever since Star Fox 64 came out.
No,
And people are trying to tell me that Yoshi is the worst franchise? Get out of here. Star Fox
they're
is the worst
tripping.
franchise.
They're true. I'm a Star Fox stan through and through, but nah, I gotta agree with you. Star Fox deserve better.
Yeah, it does deserve better, and hopefully they'll make a new Star Fox, and it will be amazing, and not have the exact same freaking story plot. Gosh, dang it, Nintendo.
If they remake it, but a
It's gonna
prequel
be a
or something,
reboot.
I would be.
It's
I
gonna
would
be a
be
reboot. It's gonna
that
be a
is
reboot.
fine.
It's gonna be the exact same story that you got from the Super Nintendo one.
That is fine.
Hmm.
Give me that with the ability to travel through the through the galaxy, and we'll be set.
That's right. But anyways, guys, our time's up. By the way, our time is up. We've spent
Dang.
an hour basically talking about Elden Ring and Star Fox sucking. So, but thank
Content.
you. I'm sorry we didn't even get a chance to discuss Resident Evil 4, the remake, to get Fern's thoughts. Fern, you'll have to join us next time and
Deal.
give us all those thoughts. We'll start with that, so we make sure to get it in. But yeah, is there anything you guys want to say real quick before I sign out?
nope.
You know what, man?
I guess check out my YouTube channel.
Oh, he's gonna do
Out
a
the
YouTube
YouTube
channel. Let's go.
What?
Change
That
it
I
to
might
Just
change
Brandon.
its name to Just Brandon. Yep.
Please,
I'll go
change it to
find
Just
your video
Brandon.
and I'll link it in the description. Or I'll link it
Please
in the
do.
comments.
Please do.
Let's
Sounds
go.
good.
I
Fern,
guess
were you
since
gonna
we
say
talked
something?
since we talked about a lot of Elden Ring, if you have not played it, don't be discouraged. Just find a guide online and play it, because
Yep.
it
If
is
I could go
still a
back right now,
stupid. It
that's
is a
exactly what I would
stupid
say.
fun game. It is a stupid fun game to play, and if it's just how these games are set up that you have to do a lot of digging, like there are amazing people online that fill out all the quest lines for you and the best way to do them. Like, don't be afraid
Yep.
to look at a guide. It's a video game. You need to
T-
enjoy it. Don't let
yeah,
the
take it from a
hardcore
guy that
people.
didn't
Yeah,
look up at the guides. Please look up a guide. Like, please, just do it. It was torture trying
yeah.
to
Don't
figure it out on
never
my own.
let a hardcore fan base stop you from enjoying something that
The
should be enjoyed
gamers
by everyone.
TM.
Yes.
Yeah, no. No, and don't let anybody ever tell you that like using spirit ashes is for being cheap. No, they give you those in the game. It's a tool that you can use.
I
Use it.
used them till the very end.
That's
Don't
right.
tell
No
anyone.
regrets.
Tell you different.
If they didn't want you using it, it wouldn't be in the game, right?
Exactly. If they
Exactly.
didn't want you using it, it'll just get nerfed later on. Look at the Rivers of Blood. I remember that.
So, all right, guys. Thank you so much. This is Chatterbox. Thank you for coming on here, Brandon. Looking forward to your YouTube channel. Thank you again, Fern,
Yep.
and I will see you guys on the next one. We're out.
We're out. Bye.
Yay.
The Ohio River sucks, by the way.
Okay.